Another positive thing that has happened in 2025, and there have been quite a few of them actually so far. It's what 9 days in now,
10.
and sorry,
10 days.
Oh, it's 10 days now, right? Okay, 10 days in, not even 2 weeks, and there's been a cavalcade of good news actually. And one piece of good news I thought was Elon Musk and the things he's doing with Twitter, and the effect that this has had on his fellow tech billionaires. So we did a roundtable on the website. Go and sign up, support us, and watch this, because it was a very good discussion on what Elon's forthrightness means in all of this.
I heard something. You for a moment.
Fourth Reich, we thought you were saying.
What do you think?
I thought we both thought you were saying Fourth Reich.
That's good, because that's what I was.
Is that what you thought?
You were saying fourth right.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Fourth Reich, we thought.
Oh no, forthright.
Yes. That's what you thought, right, Harry?
That's what I heard.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
his forthrightness on the issues that actually matter.
Wow, Elon really has been radicalized by his own platform.
I do think that has happened, actually. I do think he's become a little bit radicalized by Twitter, but in the right way, which is good. And this we discussed in this roundtable, so go watch it. And the effect this has had on his fellow tech billionaires has been liberatory. And I'm actually quite sympathetic to a lot of the tech billionaires. Now, I know a lot of people are very angry with them and are passionate opponents of them, but I actually think they've been in a kind of an impressive atmosphere themselves and been unable to actually morally assert themselves. So I think that most of the tech bros suffer not from the problem of being evil, but being weak. And Elon doesn't have that problem. He's not weak. He's quite happy to stand on his own 2 feet and say, no, I think this is right, and I think that's wrong, and I'm going to assert it. And one of the things that he did was community notes. Now, this seemed, I thought, like a very good idea, but it was remarkably poorly received by, of course, the powers that be. Because what he said was, look, rather than employing however many thousand people Twitter employed as fact checkers, I can just outsource that to the community, and people can provide the real information themselves. And this saves me money, but it also democratizes the discourse. If someone is taking advantage of things, well, the fact checkers have a political agenda, they have a political bias, and what this will allow is every political persuasion to be able to have an input into the knowledge production discourse. And that's a very, very well-meaning thing to do.
It's worth saying as well that if it were just democratizing it, that might be a problem because the demos can be wrong.
Sure.
But it's democratizing it while also building in very strong and robust epistemic standards, which select for truth over time. So I'm certain it's not as though every single opinion is given equal weight, which is a risk if you're democratizing too much.
That is indeed.
But it's a decentralized system which is pursuing truth, and it clearly selects for that. I mean, there have even been cases, to be fair to Musk, where he has been community noted himself for getting things not entirely.
In fact,
accurate.
it's not even that rare that he gets community noted if he said something that's wrong.
And we should say as well that this is the problem with these sort of third-party content. There are sort of two, I've said before, there are sort of two rough theories of truth running in our society. There is a kind of top-down managerial understanding of truth, which says that, well, there exists an expert class whose every word should be honored and acknowledged on every major topic. And obviously the problem with that is that they have agendas of their own. They're often prone to groupthink. There's no sort of institutionalized disconfirmation of bias. Is the opposite of that. Whereas with the kind of decentralized algorithmic system that the Community Notes tries to model, you get there is a more organic, emergent sort of theory of truth. Exactly. Yeah. And it seems to be working, and it's encouraging that that Zuckerberg is copying it.
Well, that's presaged what I'm going to talk about. But yes, the issue is, of course, having a dictatorship of experts who are all of one particular political stripe prevents accountability, frankly. And they have not only been wrong, which, of course, anyone is capable of being wrong, but a lot of the time they have lied, knowingly and on purpose. And so Community Notes is a superb intercession into the dialogue. And actually, Elon's done a good job implementing it as well. One of the important parts, I think, was very, very good, was preventing a post that has been noted from earning revenue. This actually has... there is a lot of slop. I'm not going to say there's not a lot of slop. There's a lot of engagement farming because, of course, the monetization of Twitter, while a good thing, I think, did come with this downside. And so at least telling overt lies that can be easily disproven by providing a source isn't financially incentivized. So that is actually a good thing.
Brilliant thing, yeah.
Good move.
When did he make that move? I haven't quite noticed that. Taking full effect on my Twitter feed.
Well, stop posting lies and you see your money got done.
No, I mean, a lot of slop accounts still seem to be doing very well.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of people. I complain a lot about the slop accounts, and recently, yesterday, I did a daily video talking about all of these new Facebook tier threads where it's like 15 images that will change your life, and everybody says, "Well, just go on the following tab then." But the For You tab will actually expose you to new accounts that you've not seen before and new information. Sometimes if you're going on following because it's purely chronological, you'll miss things, interesting things that people have said. So there is still worth your time occasionally to go onto it. But you've got all of these top 10 images that will make you give up your job and go and live in the desert, and I hate them. I hate them so much.
They're not actually like true or false, right? So they can't really be communicated.
Get 130 million views. How much money is that person making?
We're in the wrong business.
Good God.
But basically with those, just block them. There aren't actually that many of them. So if you just block them when you see them.
And Elon's done well on the bots as well.
Yeah.
It's much less of that.
But lots of left-wing media outlets, of course, don't like community notes. And a lot of people are like, the Guardian's quitting Twitter. Why is that? Well, they say, it's because it's a right-wing hellhole now. But it could also be they kept getting community noted. And it's kind of humiliating because wherever that post then goes, the community note goes with it. And so everyone knows that you're lying because you work for the Guardian. And not popular with the media, but it is popular with people. I mean, there's a subreddit with 170,000 people following it, just about community notes and what they have done. And so you can see that the other tech billionaires are looking around at this and saying, well, this is actually a model that's working, and maybe, in fact, we could follow it too, which is why Mark Zuckerberg has decided that he will do the same for Facebook and Instagram, which I think, again, is just a superb step in the right direction. Now, I want to defend Mark Zuckerberg slightly. I realize that Josh did this the other day, but I feel like doing it as well. I don't think that Mark Zuckerberg is an insane woke tyrant. I think Mark Zuckerberg is a moral coward. He's a weak man who is surrounded by people.
This is a defense. This is the defense. The case for the defense.
I just think he's a socially awkward autist.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He's a Chad now, isn't he?
There are two kinds of socially awkward.
I don't know if you want to call him a Chad. I know that he's grown his hair out a bit curly. He's got a bit of a tan.
He's got lats, and he's doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But even still, photos taken from certain angles, he still looks a bit reptilian.
Bit dweeby, yeah.
Sure. And his famous "I was a human once" flub is probably always going to come back to haunt him. But
I still remember.
Like you've got two types of billionaires, tech bro billionaires. Those that are they enjoy the cut and thrust of it, and those that don't. And Zuckerberg is clearly on the I don't enjoy this. Elon is obviously on the I do enjoy this side of things. But like I said, I don't think that makes Zuckerberg a bad person actually. And he's actually had some very strange run-ins with the people who want to censor free speech. So he put up a post about this, and in this, I'm just going to quote a bit. He says, in his 2016 speech at Georgetown University, Zuckerberg argued that free expression has been the driving force behind progress in American society and around the world, and inhibiting speech, however well-intentioned, for the reasons for doing so, often reinforces existing institutions and power structures instead of empowering people. He said, quote, "Some people believe giving more people a voice is driving division rather than bringing us together. More people across the political spectrum believe that achieving the political outcomes that they think matter is more important than every person having a voice. I think that's dangerous." So, okay, great. I agree with you. But why did you then essentially collapse into we'll just have the progressive world order and have all the fact checkers and censor lots of important things than standing on that point of principle, right? You could have done this. And it was the same with Jack Dorsey at Twitter. Jack Dorsey, when Twitter was first created, their slogan was the free speech wing of the free speech party, which was meant to be the Democrats back in like 2006 or whenever it was. Obviously that collapsed as well. And you could see in the conversation they had with Tim Pool, Joe Rogan and Vijay Gap.
Looked jaded, didn't he? Even to be there.
Yeah, he didn't even need to be there. He was clearly being longhoused by a bunch of progressive.
Who was that dreadful Indian woman who was clearly the brains behind the censorship operation at X before?
Of course.
I won't try and pronounce her name, but you know who I mean. She was the one who was sort of enthusiastically giving all the answers. This is why we censored him. Jack Dorsey just seems... Jack Dorsey, I agree with you, he seemed jaded to be there. He didn't seem like
stoned.
Well, maybe that's true.
Possibly that, but
He doesn't seem like a sort of an enthusiastic censor.
No, exactly. And in fact, you can tell the tech bros, they began their lives as free speech activists. They were like, no, it is good that we have free speech. This is a liberal value, and of course it is. But they weren't morally strong people, unlike someone like Elon Musk, who perhaps is just too autistic for them or something. I don't know. Who's just like, no, I can't even understand.
He does seem further along the spectrum.
And so
it does.
It's not that these people are themselves naturally inclined. And the most remarkable thing that I think Zuckerberg ever did in the cause of free speech was defend Holocaust denial, actually.
Defend the right to Holocaust denial, I think. We should be
right.
No, he wasn't starting to get his calculator out.
Yes, maybe I should have...
I would be very surprised if Jewish man Mark Zuckerberg decided to do that.
The bookshelf is brimming with David Irving.
But he had a very, very good point on this. And it was a good couple of months that he defended this 6 years ago, when they were really getting on his arse about it. But basically, he didn't want to deplatform Alex Jones and InfoWars from Facebook. And he said, look, he would like to reduce the distribution of that content, but would not censor the page. And he said that Holocaust deniers were deeply offensive, but I don't believe that our platform should take that down, because I think that there are things that different people get wrong that I don't think they're intentionally getting wrong. Mm-hmm. It's hard to impugn intent and to understand the intent. I just think, as abhorrent as some of those examples are, I think the reality is I also get things wrong when I speak publicly. That's actually a very noble position.
And it's I won't go on.
It's a fair and down the line sort of position.
Yes, it is. But it's also like, I don't want to recite all of this, but like John Stuart Mill's case for free speech is very similar to this. He says a perspective can either be fully correct, it can either be fully wrong, or it can be half wrong and half correct. That's what John Stuart Mill says about propositions. And then he adds how in each one of those cases, making the conversation maximally free and decentralized and unregulated and uncensored does favor and select for truth value in every single case. And this is with Holocaust. We don't want our understanding of the Holocaust to become complacent or to become atrophied. And if we don't allow people, maybe very disagreeable people, to question things, then the case is going to have it's going to become atrophied, and people are going to be less able to defend it. So even when something is fully true, and you're confident that it's fully true, all the more reason to subject it to discourse, because then it confirms that truth with greater solidity.
Yeah, and this is not exactly a popular position to publicly defend in front of hundreds of millions of people, which is the potential audience that would have known about Mark Zuckerberg suddenly leaping to the defense of Holocaust denial. And it's not that Alex Jones was a Holocaust denier or anything like that, but he was using that as the worst possible example. And he said, look, I don't want to take them off Facebook either way. Now, he collapsed on that argument eventually, and then installed Nick Clegg as, of course, the content moderator of Facebook, and it's been a progressive hellhole since, and basically I stopped using it. And now things have changed. He's decided he's going to bring in a community notes style regime, fire the autocratic fact checkers, and replace Nick Clegg with a Bush era Republican.
I thought he was...
I'm sorry, just this image of Zuckerberg. He looks like he's trying to sell the guy some drugs.
Give him a break.
Wait, I thought he brought in Dana White, or has that got nothing to do with the community notes thing?
He's brought in Dana White.
Yes.
But what for?
Oh gosh,
Dana White now.
I was assuming this was going to come up. Dana White's going to be.
I haven't heard.
He's going to be on the board of Meta all of a sudden.
Oh really?
Really?
Yes.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, but is Zuckerberg going to start his in-ring WWE career soon as well? Is that what he's been training for?
I mean,
he's in decent shape.
He goes to more or less every UFC event. He's in the corner.
True.
He's in the corner of Alexander Volkanovski, who's a sort of featherweight legend.
Oh right.
So he's having a sort of high tea character arc. Going on at the moment,
Yeah,
which does select in favor of right-wing views.
I need Taker to come out of retirement for one last match against the Zuck.
But anyway, he's putting a Bush-era advisor in charge of Facebook now. Says, okay,
a bit better.
Yeah, exactly, a bit better. But that's fine. And so, like I said, Josh covered a lot of this, but what I wanted to cover really is the response. Now, the response has been exactly as upset about this as you can imagine. The fact checkers are not happy with this.
Wait,
They
I'm in
fact
this
check
image.
that false, actually. Sorry?
Well, of course, I mean, they're going, this is my job, actually.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I can't be bad at my job because this is how I get paid.
Exactly. If you interfere with the man's money, he'll be very angry with this. One fact checker said, quote, I don't believe that we were doing anything in any form with bias.
All right, okay.
Yep.
This is the real reason
Neil
why.
Brown, one of the... he runs PolitiFact, one of the fact-checking partners, and it's like, that is just a remarkable thing to say for the kind of academic left, since they only believe that a human being can be biased. And to be honest with you, on that score, they're probably right. So the very fact that, okay, well, we weren't doing anything with any bias, it's like, well, okay, we disagree with you. You know, we think you were very biased, and in fact, there's an entire wing of politics that thinks that. So
I like his next sentence as well. There's a mountain of what could be checked, and we were only grabbing what we could. And I'm sure it was a complete random,
Yes, close your eyes. Close your
objectively,
eyes.
no bias involved in that either, guys. Good job.
we used an algorithm to randomly generate numbers, and then
The great thing about the community notes thing is that it models the institutionalized disconfirmation of bias. And so rather than having to trust these people who rather fancy themselves as an accredited expert class, outsourcing it to a truly disinterested AI is much, much more reliable. And it means that it's far less likely to become agenda-driven.
And honestly, so far, I've only seen the community notes being used appropriately as well.
I don't think I've seen a single bad example.
Yeah, none, and I think there's a general sort of ethos in the community that uses community notes. That is, well, you have to provide the evidence, which is good.
Yes.
And anyway, so I thought we'd just briefly move on from this sojourn through the tiers of the community, the fact checkers. Just to have a quick look at 5 times they got it wrong. Basically, 4 of these are, of course, surrounding COVID and the jabs. And then, of course, the Hunter Biden story, which the laptop story, which we were assured was Russian disinformation, which turned out not to be. But the response from the left has been pretty good. This summarizes basically much of it. It's like, oh, this is just a cynical power play. And the framing on this is amazing. In a video posted this week, presumably from a secret layer hidden beneath a volcano somewhere, the Meta CEO announced plans to scrap the fact-checking on his platforms in favor of crowdsourced community note system. So you can see already he's now become the evil villain because he's democratizing the epistemological sourcing of information on Twitter. So, okay, well, sorry that you guys don't like that. We're very, very sorry, Mark. But he is actually... he's actually always kind of been on this side anyway, and it was artificial that you were keeping him on your side of it. And of course, he points out, well, this is just as Donald Trump is preparing to return to the White House. It's like, yes, that is true. Suddenly, a bunch of people who, I guess, I bet if you were to ask Zuckerberg, he would be able to describe what has happened to him as a form of oppression. Like he would probably say, yeah, no, I didn't feel like I was able to properly assert what I truly
Certainly
believe.
a form of strong-arming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
Browbeaten into it.
I mean, he's a dropout from Harvard, I believe. He's clearly got a quite independent, buccaneering mindset. I imagine that intuitively he codes in quite a libertarian direction, like most of the tech bros. And a disproportionate number of them are college dropouts, which is to say that they are intelligent, but they don't particularly like the regimented nature of class structure. And so there's a sense in which he is an intuitive libertarian, but it might just be the lack of moral fiber, and libertarians do tend to lack that. It might just be that which is making... And now that there's a new sort of vibe shift, he's just going along with it, and it's more consistent with his libertarian principles, and so he feels quite happy about it. I think your case is compelling, Carl.
I think it is, and I think you're summarizing exactly. And the correct people are all getting very upset about this, such as Brazil's communist government.
No, I just feel like you made more of the case.
Sure, but I think he's summarizing it very well. But Brazil's communist government is very upset by this, and I think that's superb. Anything that upsets Brazil's communist government is probably going to be at least worth paying attention to, if nothing else.
Anything attributed by the mainstream as being bad for democracy, it sounds good to me.
Well, that's literally exactly
that's
the
what it says there.
They say the decision was, quote, bad for democracy because without fact-checking, you don't have control. You don't have control of the spread of hate, misinformation, and fake news.
Yeah.
And that's what democracy's always been about, right? An unaccountable oligarchy.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I'm not joking here.
That's literally what they think.
In the name of saving democracy, we need to radically limit the range of news and opinion to which the demos has access.
Yes. Otherwise, democracy fails. And they say that's the problem. We need to have control. We need to regulate social media. That's what's happening in Europe. It's like, yes, but that's bad. Like, that's not a good thing that is happening in Europe.
Please don't look to Europe for good examples.
Exactly. But and then the very final attack is just, oh, did you forget these super rich guys?
All right.
Reheat some, what's the Occupy Wall Street lines.
What kind of a gotcha is that?
Well,
rich man is rich.
Well, think about it. What happens to rich men?
They shag beautiful young women.
Or sometimes they get shot.
That also happens.
Oh, well, interesting, yes.
So saying, well, look, he's got a $900,000 watch, Luigi.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that? He's going to be spreading misinformation. Like
I feel like the Luigis of the world are slightly less disturbed by Mark Zuckerberg spreading misinformation than they are healthcare people denying their family members care.
You don't know where this ends.
It is interesting how the left, after BLM, after the Great Awakening, whenever you want to date that from, sort of relaxed a lot of the class warfare stuff, and they started amping up the race warfare, the sex warfare, the ethnic warfare, all these sorts of things.
When the billionaires were on their side.
Yeah, when the billionaires were on their side. But now that there are some coming out again, they're sort of reheating some of those Occupy Wall Street talking points, which is very curious.
Precisely. Yeah. And they know that it's an environment where there's a large percentage of the left who are like, yeah, I'm actually in favor of Luigi shooting CEOs. And we know that they're ramping up their own security. So again, this isn't an accident. They know what they're doing.
Random Italians, communists shooting rich men in the streets. We really are back in the 20s, aren't we?
Yeah, it's something that's arrived back here. But anyway, like I said, I think the tide is actually turning here. I don't think the tech bros were bad. I think they were just weak, and it was thankfully strong moral leadership from Elon Musk and Donald Trump on these that has won thing. And so 2025 looks like it might be quite a good year.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.